Thank you for being with us on this Thursday afternoon. I'm your midday host, Julie Grant. All the evidence is in the Possessed by Evil murder trial, and we are one step closer to the case getting into the hands of that Wisconsin jury, who will be tasked with weighing whether or not 21-year-old Susan Pickett acted with malice or in self-defense when he killed his mother back in 2019. He took the stand on Wednesday in an effort to tell the jury what he claims happened on that fateful day. He says he witnessed his mother abusing their family dog, Chico, and that he tried to stop her when he says she lunged at him with a knife, leaving him with no choice but to defend himself with what he says was a metal bar and the knife as well. Now, Pickett could face life in prison if convicted of the first-degree intentional homicide charge. The court has just returned, and the state is about to deliver its closing argument. Let's go back to court together and watch.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for your time these past few days and your attentiveness to the evidence that was presented to you. Early Tuesday morning, we talked a bit during jury selection about credibility, about how you judge whether a story you're told is true or not, including whether the story changes and how well it matches up with the other facts surrounding that story. In this case, Mr. Pickett's claim of self-defense fails on both counts. First, he's provided us with three wildly different stories of what happened to his mother and his dog on May 10th of 2021, only one of which can be true. The first version: his mom's sex offender boyfriend, Ernie Wheeler, and his buddies tied him up, held him hostage, and killed Susan and the dog before untying him and leaving him there to take the fall. And Mr. Pickett held on to that story for quite a while. That's what he told to the 911 dispatcher over the phone. You heard again this morning him tell that to Chief Carey. And he continued with that version of events when he first began talking to the DCI agents when he was interviewed at the Avoca Village Hall. But during that entire time frame, Mr. Pickett made no mention of self-defense, no mention of him or the dog being attacked by Susan, and no mention of her coming at him with a weapon of any kind. There also wasn't any mention of the voices in his head telling him what to do or of the evil inside of him. As Agent Mansavage noted, that didn't come up until Mr. Pickett had already realized that story number one just simply wasn't believable. Next, we have version number two of the killings. Now, this is the version you heard Mr. Pickett tell Agent Mansavage immediately after he abandoned the Wheeler story. In the second telling, you got to hear what I submit to you were the facts as they actually unfolded. You heard it in Sean's own words through the recorded interview played during the testimony of Mr. Mansavage. About his mom's death, Mr. Pickett said, "I killed her first. I stabbed her and beat her with that metal bar." And he said he hit her with that bar maybe 6 times, 8 times. With regard to Chico, Sean said, "I hit him with the metal bar, and then as he went down on the ground, I stabbed him in the chest a few times, and then I stabbed him in the throat too." Again, while telling the second version of events, no mention of self-defense, no mention of Susan coming at him or attacking him, no mention of any weapon whatsoever, other than the ones that he used on Susan and Chico. Now, finally, yesterday afternoon, Mr. Pickett provided you with a third version of what happened on the afternoon of May 10th. And if I followed it correctly, it went something like this. He walked into his ransacked bedroom, heard a commotion next door, fast walked through his mom's bedroom door, closed it behind him naturally, only to find his mother kneeling over his dog, stabbing her, the same dog that she had allegedly raped just a couple weeks earlier. She came at Mr. Pickett with surprising strength, knife in hand. He wrestled it away from her and naturally stabbed her 2 times. But that feisty 54-year-old, 84-pound, withering woman just kept coming at him. He somewhat got the knife away from her, and they continued to wrestle with Susan and the knife falling to the floor. Sean managed to catch himself, but as he went towards the door to get help, his mom popped back up, came at him with the knife again. And that's when he had the good fortune to find that heavy metal bar on the dresser in his mom's room, that bar wrapped with a paracord handle. And he grabbed it to defend himself. He testified that he hit her once over the head with it, which caused her to fall a little bit, or pretty much, but she still came at him. And that's when he instinctively hit her 2 or 3 more times with that heavy metal bar, while he was standing at her feet in front of the bedroom door. Although he wasn't certain if his mom was still alive or not, Mr. Pickett claimed that he checked on Chico, gave him a hug, and then went out to call the police. But despite what he said during his testimony, he didn't call the police to get his dying mother help. Now, as you heard on the 911 call, Mr. Pickett was already developing version number 1 of his story, blaming Mr. Wheeler for killing Susan and Chico. Contrary to his testimony, the facts also show that Mr. Pickett did not call the police right away. Chief Carey testified the blood on Mr. Pickett's clothing, as well as the blood on the floor of Susan Pickett's bedroom, was already dry by the time he arrived. And that would be consistent with them having been dead around noon when Mr. Gilbertson stopped by the house. He knocked on the door, didn't hear a dog barking. It's unusual for Chico. Mr. Pickett testified he didn't come outside that day when Mr. Gilbertson knocked on the door because weird stuff was going on in the house. There was certainly weird stuff going on in the house. Mr. Pickett had just killed Susan and his dog, and he was trying to figure out a story to explain the 2 dead bodies in his mother's bedroom. How can you know beyond a reasonable doubt that it's version number 2 of the story, where Mr. Pickett admitted to Agent Mansavage that he had killed Susan and Chico with 0 indications, again, of any need for self-defense? How can you know that that was what actually happened? Go back to that second thing we talked about in determining credibility, how it matches up with the physical facts. And for that, we can look to the pattern of injuries on Susan's body. You heard Dr. Corliss testify that Susan was likely on the ground and not moving when Sean struck her twice across the face with an object consistent with the heavy metal bar that you got to pass around and feel the weight of. Furthermore, we know these blows happened with Sean standing above her head, not at her feet, as he testified to. We know that because when we look at those images, image number 57, Dr. Corliss testified to the V shape of those injuries. And he indicated that was consistent with the blows coming from the same location, likely with the victim not moving at the time. She had already been incapacitated, probably by that first hit to the head. Dr. Corliss further testified that the pattern of injuries at the base of that linear impact along her neck, that round pattern suggested that that was from the end of the metal bar with which Susan was struck. And that would not have occurred if Ms. Pickett was standing on her feet. We also know she was on the ground at the time of these strikes because it was the impact of those 2 blows to the right side of her face that caused the broad impact contusions and the fractures to the left side of her face. And Dr. Corliss testified about that pattern of injury as well. The bruising on the entire upper left side of her face, as well as the impact laceration behind Ms. Pickett's left ear. And those, ladies and gentlemen, those were hard hits. You heard Dr. Corliss testify. These were car crash type forces, significant impacts to her face. So significant that they caused the fractures to the right side of her skull in multiple locations. As well as cracking along the entire back of her skull. So the 2 impacts striking from, again, that single point of origin and causing the additional fracture along the back of the skull. And those impacts also were sufficient to cause the lacerations to the inferior or bottom portion of the temporal lobes of her brain, that white area of the brain that Dr. Corliss testified you shouldn't see in an undamaged brain. And finally, the last evidence of that significant impact and force is the hinge fracture that Dr. Corliss testified to. And that again is along the hinge of the base of the skull underneath the brain. You don't have to rely just on the anatomical evidence to know that Susan Pickett was already on the ground at the time she was struck. Additional evidence that shows that came from John Ertl of the State Crime Lab's Crime Scene Response Team, who testified that the blood spatter on the bottom of Susan's foot and on the floor immediately adjacent to it, without any smearing evidence, was an indicator that Susan Pickett had been on the ground, lying down at the time that spatter came over her feet. I'll bring that image up for you again as well. No smearing at all on the bottom of her feet. In addition, when looking at Susan Pickett's pants, there's no visible blood on her knees. So with the absence of the blood on her knees and the absence of blood on the bottom of her feet, there's no reason to believe she was either kneeling or standing over Chico, stabbing him to death. Certainly she would have had blood if it occurred as Mr. Pickett testified to. She would have had it on her knees, she would have had it on her pants, she would have had it on her feet. And finally, Agent Mansavage similarly testified there was more blood staining visible on the lower half of Mr. Pickett's clothing than there was on the upper half. Again, consistent with strikes to a person who was already on the ground. In addition, we observed with Dr. Corliss defensive wounds on Susan Pickett's body, exactly where he said you would expect to find them. The left forearm, and the left index finger.
All right, we're going to hit the pause button on the state's closing argument. You won't miss a moment of it. We just have to squeeze in a break. We'll be right back with more Court TV Live after this. This is Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm Julie Grant. Thank you for being with us on this Thursday. We're seeing the final arguments given to the jury in the possessed by evil murder trial in Wisconsin. We hit the pause button before we headed to break a few moments ago. Now we want to go back in. This is the prosecutor on the case delivering the closing arguments. He's the same one you saw do the open. Let's take a look.
And Dr. Corliss had demonstrated to you exactly how that would have occurred in the face of an oncoming attack. Now, in contrast, there were no defensive type wounds on Sean Pickett. Just a couple of minor old scratches on his hands. And a narrow scratch behind his right shoulder. There were no other wounds over the rest of his body. As demonstrated in this photo. And Mr. Pickett never complained of any injuries or requested any medical attention. And I think common sense tells you that there certainly would have been defensive wounds on Mr. Pickett's body if he'd gone through a lengthy struggle with a knife that was sharp enough to pierce his mother's liver, neck, and back when wielded by Mr. Pickett. Now, whether Mr. Pickett's actions were born of a general hatred for Mr. Wheeler or disappointment in his mom choosing to be with a sex offender instead of with him, or fear of being left homeless when she moved and sold their home, Sean Pickett had plenty of motivation to be angry with Susan and to do her harm. Addressing the three legal elements the state must prove for you to find Mr. Pickett guilty of first-degree intentional homicide and causing her death, there's no question the state has proven beyond reasonable doubt that first element, that Sean Pickett caused his mother's death, as by his own admission and by the testimony of Dr. Corliss. He clearly used that metal bar to deliver the impacts to Susan's skull that resulted in her death. The state has also proven beyond reasonable doubt the second element of first-degree intentional homicide, the intent to kill. The repeated crushing blows to Susan's skull after she was already down on the ground with a heavy metal bar reflect a clear intent, even if formed the instant before the initial strike, to take her life. At the barest minimum, it was practically certain to result in her death. You've seen the photos of how significant those impacts were. The final element of first-degree intentional homicide the state must prove in this case is that Mr. Pickett did not actually believe the force he used was necessary to prevent his imminent death or great bodily harm. And the state has met this element by proving beyond reasonable doubt again that Mr. Pickett did not actually believe he was in imminent danger at the time these killings occurred. And again, this goes back to the only version of Mr. Pickett's three stories that's really credible. The version supported by the physical evidence is again the recorded confession you heard him give to Mr. Mansavage. There was no claim of self-defense raised at that time because Mr. Pickett never actually believed that he was in any danger at that time. When specifically asked at the interview, "Did she fight you?" Mr. Pickett's response was no. He also told Agent Mansavage that Susan didn't say anything to him while he was killing her. And he added, "You know, Chico, he didn't even try to defend my mom." That the attack on his mom was not justified by self-defense is further supported by the three prior occasions of unprovoked physical violence that Mr. Wheeler testified to. There's simply no basis to find that Mr. Pickett believed he was in imminent danger of death or great bodily harm in this case. Based on the physical facts you've seen and the testimony you've heard, there's nothing that supports anything other than first-degree intentional homicide in this case. For these reasons, when you go back to the jury room to deliberate, you should find him guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. And based on his admissions to Agent Mansavage, you also should find him guilty of mistreatment of an animal resulting in death, as there's no question that intentionally striking the dog with the bar and stabbing it as he said he did was unprovoked and an unjustifiable cause of death to Chico. So I will ask that you find him guilty of both counts as charged. Thank you.